Hey everyone, hope you're well, hope you're having a good one, a good day, a good weekend essentially. It is the end of, hope you're well. So if you are new to the channel, please do hit the subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to press the bell button to be notified on any future lives. I do them on Sundays, obviously, today, tonight, and I also do them on Fridays. Also, if you want to get extra content from me, there is a membership on my YouTube, but the better one is on this website here, Premium. You get a lot of information from me and my team. So there's a lot of information there. So shall we talk a little bit about what's happening in the market? I want to explain the chart in terms of potential alt season, what's happened in the last few days, essentially the rejection of the 65% level and obviously the Bitcoin rejection. We'll talk about Bitcoin. It's the end of the month, so we can do some monthly analysis on a lot of information of coins. Multiple coins at monthly levels, of course. We can look at, obviously, XRP's done an absolute worldie. Obviously, Dogecoin, there's loads. But yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to Sunday Live. Please do let me know where you're from. Let me know what you're doing. Let me know what coin you want me to look at. And yeah, be active. Slap that like button as hard as you can. Let's get this algorithm going. Let me just become the person of reason for once, because there's too many people getting burnt essentially off certain YouTubers, which I will not name, based off some posts that I seen on Friday, which I wanted to basically choke on, which were horrendous. So let's talk realistic terms. The market is pretty good. It may not feel that way when you start looking at Bitcoin going down a little bit, but that's what we kind of want. We want a boring Bitcoin. We want it to be continuation of that downtrend, and we want to continue the upcycle of potential altcoins doing these sort of results over the last 7 days. It may not look like much, but I did a print screen of one of my videos I did in December, and it was like Ethereum at $600. Certain coins were at really low levels compared to now. It's only been a month. It's been like 5 weeks, give or take. It's amazing how much it moves, this market. It's ridiculous. So please ensure that you do have a degree of patience. And remember, this whole Bitcoin sign here, we need to be boring, we need to be good, but we also need to be so much healthier. But yeah, good to see so many people jump in. What YouTubers? I won't mention them by name. But let's talk realistic terms, because there's a few things that are happening overall in the market, right? The one thing that's kind of came up on the radar over the weekend essentially is this: Visa potentially adding cryptocurrency to its merchant network, which is obviously, we know Visa as a company, as a payment mechanism, as a branch of said payments essentially. And a lot of the quotes coming out here in terms of calling Bitcoin digital gold and saying all this kind of all the things that we want to hear, which we already know, but to have this backed within crypto essentially is kind of a big deal. And that's kind of important to understand where the metrics of this will all go when things get a bit more adoption. I'm not talking about the likes of Maya Khalifa buying Dogecoin here. I'm talking about proper adoption here. This is Visa, for fuck's sake, not fucking celebrities like Soulja Boy wanting to buy shit. We're talking real big boys. Now, PayPal, they're already in the mix. Visa, throwing the hat in the mix. Not this hat, my hat. You know, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's an important mechanism to understand that payments are huge. And 70 million merchants around the world, and they're already stating that they are looking to represent new assets such as Bitcoin and other stable and digital, well, stable currencies obviously, and other digital assets is absolutely massive. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but for me, that's just another bullish sentiment to say that these boys in the mix are coming here and they're looking to stay. And as I've already seen on the comments, some stupid things in terms of yeah, Soulja Boy. But yeah, it's the way it goes. People will always get sucked in. We're the ones that will win because we're ultimately positioned. We know what we're doing. We know what we're talking about. We've watched multiple content and we've done it all before. You see these celebrities go, hee hee, bang, lost my money. What comments have we got already? Visa question, what coin? Well, that depends. I personally think USDC coin as a stable currency. I mean, that's the thing, like Bitcoin wouldn't really work, let's be honest. It'll be backed in a certain way, it'll be done in a certain way, but you can't do a Visa transaction with Bitcoin. It just doesn't make sense. it would have to be pretty quick. It would have to be at least a settlement of 5 seconds. There's only a few coins that I can probably name that would do that. That's important. That's very, very important to understand. But let's talk about some realistic things that have happened over the last few days, right? So let's just talk currencies, right? What has happened over the last few days? Because we need to understand this. What the fuck is that? Shake and milkshake, great coins. Yeah, I shouldn't have really went to this one. But you can see all the turd, right? This is a problem with this market. There's a lot of turd. And I can probably imagine the likes of BitBoy would have promoted a lot of these because he does. But when we talk about, you know, realistic expectations, we'll go to the normal way. We'll go to the normal bit, won't we? Yeah, we will. So if we just go USD prices, the last 24 hours, what has been happening? As you can see, there's been some absolutely monstrous gains, and they're all in and around that little hopium area. Obviously, the likes of XRP's pumped, Dogecoin's obviously pumped, and you're starting to see the DeFi sector kind of appearing here, right? The problem that we've got in the market is everyone is trying to scramble for the pumps. You've got to be careful because things will happen. You know, realistically, things will happen, things will pop, things will moon. And if you are looking, I get it all the time, right? In terms of my comments, you know, I often get, oh, this has done this. What about it? Is it any good? Well, yeah, it's up 400%. I don't really care now. It's gone. You know, you got to be careful with all these kind of moony coins. And it's ultimately because certain things have literally been mentioned by certain people, or they've just done some big, massive release. And that's the problem. But we'll talk about the Bitcoin chart. We'll talk about the dominance chart first, right? Because I know people are like, oh, when's alt season coming? What's happening? You know, for me, the last few days was really important to see this. On Friday, we had a bit of a spike. We had a spike to the upside, and in a minute, I'll go through questions if you want to ask questions. What happened was Bitcoin went for a fake. It went for a run out, it faked out, right? It fucking had its pants pulled amazingly down, right? Very, very quickly. And I knew that was going to happen when you look at the Bitcoin structure, and I'll explain it. When we look, though, at this, on the nose, 38.2 Fibonacci level, I left it on here from this level here. So what we've had here, we've had the top, essentially, the impulse down, the retest, and then the slam. So when you look at coin structure or even index structure in terms of buying sentiment, this is an obvious downtrend. Obviously, oh God, I can't even see that, man. Plonker. We'll go white because it's simple, a bit thicker. And yeah, we'll do that. So when you get this sort of element, this is like an obvious downtrend. It's basically an ABC pattern, right? So when you start looking and seeing these sort of patterns, we've seen another one here where we've had, essentially, in a nutshell, we've had the impulse all the way down, which is a big one. We found level of support, which is 62.5%. We've pulled right back up, and the sellers have obviously took us. But this is all in correlation with the world of Bitcoin, right? So what did Bitcoin do? Pretty much this same sort of movement. If you're a trader and you understand how this works, it is a great pattern, by the way. When we look at Bitcoin, and people are panicking, I know, this is a monster fake out. And when you start looking at the correlation here between a daily and looking at how this worked, well, we went up to the 786 level and just voomf, wicked it, but we didn't even close above that 50% level. What I said in a previous live, and people were like, no, it's never going to do that. Well, I've been saying we're going to go to at least 27k, 25k, and potentially 20k, which is actually in confluence with A, this 618 extension level, B, the previous all-time high levels as well in and around this region. And there's actually this here as well. This level here is a 618 retracement of the entire move. So from March to basically January, that is the 618 level. So basically, we may lose 61% of the entire value of Bitcoin in one swoop, which is actually around $18, give or take. This level here, sorry. So that's not $18, $18,000. So that gives you a bit of an interest of where things could retrace to. And I know people don't want to like to hear that because it's kind of like, well, I don't really want to hear that. But markets go up, markets go down. But what happens is when this is stable and boring and slow and sluggish, it means alt season. It means you can accumulate Bitcoin off altcoins very, very quickly, which is what I've been explaining. We are forming here, and I know people hate to see it. We're forming, and I'll try and dress this up as neatly as possible. We're forming a downtrend. It's kind of obvious where you got this high, you got low, lower high, right? What have we got now? We've got a lower low, because we've finalized lower than this region. Obviously, I'm looking at the wicks here, but if we can actually turn that and go, actually, let's just focus on the bodies. Look at the bodies more than anything. You know, keep it simple. And then what we formed here, we formed another high, which is actually rejected. And what could happen next? Well, yeah, guess what? Actually, there's another high here, rejection. Formed another low, continue going down. So what's the next move? Well, for me, probably here, in my opinion. Overall, you know, if we're talking sentiment, if we're talking that, it's a daily time frame. It may bounce off this point again, but this is a level of, well, essentially, this is resistance, essentially, give or take, because we're not really formed support on it. We've kind of fallen through it still, even today. And that's not a good sign. So I know people are like, oh, but what if? But this is actually on a really strong level. I'll zoom out in a minute and you'll see it. If I zoom out and look on the weekly time frame, you'll see it. This is the entire move. We've not moved down massively. But when you start looking at the infrastructure here, this is only the 23%. We are literally just hovering on it. And when you look at this weekly time frame, not the greatest candle in the world. Not the greatest candle in the world. Still pretty bearish in my mind. And when you look at the monthly time frame, it looks pretty damn shite. You know, it's literally been zipped right back down and it's not looking good. This could be a reversal and a retracement back down into those 27, 25 levels, maybe 20k, who knows. But that's what I mean. I'm already seeing the comments, people are crying. You know, it's just one of those things. When you talk about retracements and opportunity, for me, it is an opportunity because it is literally a place so you can buy more. The fundamentals are, this is a downtrend. You know, we've had a massive, massive uprise. We've went all the way up from literally, you could say 9,900 level, give or take September, all the way up to 42k. And people are moaning because we're starting to fly down a little bit. You know, you've got to be careful with the elements of the life, the life of any market. It's a monster move. And we are all complaining about us being at 32k and we may go a little bit lower. You know, that's just the way it is. But that's my overall opinion. Let's talk comments. Let's talk comments, because there's some idiots on here already. Yay, hi. Hidden. Hello, everyone. So, let's talk about, I just saw a really question. Why not put it all in UK pounds? Because the market is done in dollars. We don't do pounds. Pounds sucks. You know, it's a dollar market. At the end of the day, it's Satoshis, but it is actually all set up in dollars, essentially. It's the most dominant currency, essentially. Hi, everyone. Hi. How much will Zilliqa get to? Ultimate question. It depends on how many goals they achieve, how big they get the chain, how big the ecosystem becomes, how many people, you know, obviously use it as well. So it's always important. In terms of, let's talk monthly candles with certain things. Bitcoin's going to be the one with the worst monthly candle because it had the biggest retracement, by the way. So when I talk about, you know, how good it's been, and people are obviously crying because everything's going mental, you know, this is the opportunity to grow Bitcoin by the altcoins. If, as I say, it stays stable and it's nice, neat and tidy, and it doesn't just drop its ass or it pumps like crazy, you know, this is essentially what you can do. So when you start looking at these BTC pairings, and I'll go to the dominant chart in a minute, you can see here, obviously it's a bit of a mess, bear with me. Let me neaten this up, Jesus Christ. So what we've got here, right, this grey band, we need to break it. We're currently retracing. We've had a bit of a liquidity grab here with Ethereum, right? These are low. When Bitcoin starts dancing around and doing stuff, it tends to rattle this. But what's happening since the dominance has been dropping at the start of this year, this is obviously going up, right? Opportunity. Break above this, and it's literally hammer time. It's go, go, go. And when you start looking at the confluence here, well, since that's happened, this is going down, and these BTC pairs are going down. The opportunity is to buy these when dominant at its most highest, because these will be at its most lowest, obviously. So when you start looking, well, Bitcoin's crashing, you will be making tons of Bitcoin in your chart. You just won't realize it. This is why people buy altcoins at the wrong time. So when you look at the weekly time frame as well, I'll just remove that out of the way. When you start looking, like, look at all this level here. You know, if you bought Ethereum, right? I know this sounds, I've said this before. If you bought Ethereum when it was $400 and you bought in like August, September time, you're like, yeah, awesome. But actually, what's actually happened here, you've actually bought it at the wrong time because dominance was so low. Bitcoin went on a run, right? You've actually lost about 40% of your Ethereum at one point. Now, if you held on, it would have been fine, but you would have been losing Satoshi. So you've got to be careful with all that. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's just the way the market is. You know, it's all about dominance. But Bitcoin is that field leader. It's like the dollar chart in Forex. It makes such a big difference. But when you do look at this and you think, well, where can it go? If we lose this level, which essentially we're below it right now, and the weekly time frame potentially going to close below it, and then the monthly time frame is literally below it as well, I think we are going to go down to 27k at least. At least. If it gets quite ugly and we've got a lot of weak hands and people start selling it, it may go lower, but never say never. I've seen so many people in the market who, 2018, for example, Ethereum, if you were saying to me, oh, I actually outright refuse this, $1,400 we were, all-time high, went down to 80. Didn't think it would ever happen. It happens. You know, shit goes wrong. You know, that's ultimately the thing. But the recipe here, we are still absolutely fine. Look at how strong this monthly and weekly level is for the total 2 chart. It's ridiculous. There's still money flowing into this market. You just look at this. That's ridiculous, right? When you look at the dominance chart on the monthly time frame as well, what have we got here? We've got simple lines of an absolute retracement back down. If this continues going down and breaks below the 63 and we continue going down and we go below 65, or stay below 65, sorry, which was where we are right now, 63 levels down to 60 and then 57, which was the previous low what we had. If we break below that, it's turbo. It will, all your altcoins will be going through levels, but when you go and look at them, they are literally all, and I mean this, all below certain levels. Every single altcoin is literally at the lows when you start thinking, not in dollar value, but in BTC value. And I don't think people understand the metric here, because I'm seeing it in my comments all the time. When you're buying with Bitcoin, and when you are literally only buying in Bitcoin and you've got those profits, you can get a decent chunk of the altcoin and then sell it for Bitcoin, for further Bitcoin down the road. No one cares about the dollar value because it's all in the metric of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is literally the overall market. You've then got your altcoins are worth X amount of Satoshis. You then put that to the dollar. That's how much it's worth, right? We're not here to grow USD. If that was the case, you might as well have bought Bitcoin and then kept holding Bitcoin. Simple as that, right? So the way I've been making money over the last few weeks essentially is through the dominance chart. My altcoins have gone up by, I think it's 27% in the last month, which when you do that in metrics of BTC value, it's worth a lot more. If you think 27 is not a lot, well, how much does Bitcoin go up to? It only goes up to 1. Whereas if a dollar, it goes up much higher numbers. So it's a different metric. And say, for example, if you're doing the maths here and you've got 1 Bitcoin in your overall portfolio and you gain 27%, it's 0.27 BTC. What is that in dollars? Quite a good chunk of money, essentially, what you have grown. Even if that means it's gone down in USD prices, but people just don't get it. Until they read it and understand it and see it, they get it. And I know a lot of people are commenting saying, well, what's all season? When is it happening? We're pretty much effectively having a mini alt season right now. We've went from essentially this top level at 73 and we're now at 63. What's happened? Well, my portfolio has grown by 27% in BTC. That's an awesome number. Could go much higher. We could drop even lower and it could be 57, 100%, even higher. And it has been before. I've made easily over 300% on my altcoin portfolio in the past on certain alt seasons. Happens, you know. It's one of those things. But again, people say, well, why are you telling people to buy tops? I'm not. I'm telling people to use Bitcoin and buy with Bitcoin in the lows of the altcoins, because essentially what could happen, worst case scenario, is Bitcoin dropped its ass. It looks like shit, but ultimately you're growing your Bitcoin. You know, what would you rather have? $100 or $100 worth of Satoshis and then Bitcoin being undervalued essentially because it's retraced 60%? I know what I'd rather have. Simple. Explain my strategy for taking profit when the Bitcoin dominance changes. So when Bitcoin starts becoming dominant again. So say, for example, here, I've already taken profits on Voyager because it was ridiculous. I thought, well, I'm just going to take profits, right? When I start looking at the dominance chart here overall, and it continues going down, let's just say we break this level and we continue going down, I'd still be in. The lower it goes, the more profits I'll be taking. I'll be literally laddering out my position. So I'll be taking little scraps here and there and moving it into Bitcoin and then hold Bitcoin. That's all I do. And then essentially when it goes back up again, you hold Bitcoin, and then ultimately what happens as you're holding Bitcoin, it'll be worth more in BTC values, obviously because you've got the BTC, but it's worth more in USD value appreciation. So I'll hold it. When we're starting to look high again, I'll start looking at buying into altcoins again, essentially at those low BTC values, not low USD prices, because I'm looking to grow one denominator, which is essentially this, just Bitcoin. That's all I'm looking to grow. And when you look at Bitcoin, essentially, what would you rather have? A load of this at 33k, or get a load of it and then cash out when it's back up to 40 odd k? Oh, I know what I'd rather do. But we need it to cool off, we need to chill out, and if it does, happy days. Do you think they're trying to trick us out of Bitcoin by making people sell in the downtrend? Yes, they always do it. This is why alt seasons happen and why people who trade in altcoins always win, because the spillover in profits. You've seen the graphs, you've seen all kinds of information about it. They'll pump Bitcoin hard. As it goes hard, people jump out of altcoins and they go into Bitcoin, therefore leading to pump even more, which we've had in the past. Therefore, you start seeing those BTC pairs of altcoins going low. Yes, the USD prices of it are going high because it's following Bitcoin. It looks good. But when you start seeing the likes of Ethereum, Polkadot, etc., at low prices where it's never been before, and it's been scooped there for ages because dominance is now 70%, it's a trick. And what they'll do is they'll put profits into those altcoins. And this is why we're getting massive surges. Look at how fast the likes of Dogecoin pumped. I know it's a load of influencer marketing and influencers jumping on and freaking all kinds of bullshit, but ultimately, because it's so low and they can manipulate that to make it spike, anything we've got. Look at XRP. XRP is a great example of what's happened over the last few days. I'll show you the XRP chart. You're probably thinking, what? But you look at how low it went. This went to like really historic low levels. You can see it here. It went disgusting. It's never ever been this low before. We're at 562 Satoshis. And, oh no, sorry, 600 Satoshis, right? This is why it's popped. It just found a level of support and people just bought it because they've seen the opportunity. What's happened now is we've seen a massive pump. What happened the other day? It pumped up quite massively and aggressively. This is the thing. People are looking at the wrong bloody chart and it does my tits in. And like, look at that for a day. It found 112%. It's been this is probably the lowest it's been in freaking aid. This is like, we don't even have, yeah, look at it. When December, this was basically the trigger of the absolute mental run last time. So we've got to look at that, but that's the thing. It's scary at the same time when you start seeing these prices, but if you had a lot of Bitcoin spare and you've seen how low this was and where it's been in the past, this is like, it went 85% lower. That's crazy. How people not getting this? I just don't get it. It's all good fun, but I know people don't get it. Anyways, should I answer some questions, essentially? Another thing as well, just to briefly talk about it, the likes of these monthly time frames, because we're literally finishing. Look how aggressively strong that is, by the way. Same with the world of Ethereum BTC. All the monthly time frames, apart from the ones that follow Bitcoin, the likes of Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, etc., they obviously follow Bitcoin. But all the DeFi space, looking phenomenal. Monthly time frame, everything is looking savage. Maybe not RSR. That's obviously already changed because it's, the world of Asian markets. But when you start looking at all these coins, looking very, very good. Looking very, very good. But for me, there's no point shorting Bitcoin. There's no point doing anything. Just let it go. I just accumulate it because it makes much more sense. But yeah, it's one of those things. Farmer Jimmy, you actually don't have a clue what you're going on about. This went, what? It's a BTC chart, mate. We're talking Bitcoin here, you knob. Honestly. Different chart, man. Obviously, the world of Bitcoin follows the USD prices of every chart. I've said it before with Chainlink. It looks great at $20, but ultimately, if you buy at $20, and it goes up in value, well, if Bitcoin's pumping at the same time, you're just going to lose a ton of Bitcoin. No point. You know, this is a thing. Scary market, this. You know, people just don't get it. They're literally just buying whatever because it looks cheap. But realistically, there's times where not to buy it. If you're buying it and Bitcoin's really dominant and it's going crazy, but yeah, your USD prices are going with it. Yeah, happy days. You know, essentially you're bleeding out. You don't want to be bleeding out. It's both effects in terms of dominance going down. So if Bitcoin cools off and the market cap of the bigger coins go, so for example, Ethereum gets pushed and Cardano, XRP, etc., it's going to be a counterbalance. So obviously what alt season essentially is, you know, altcoins are more dominant than Bitcoin for a bit. You know, it usually only happens for about 4 to 6 weeks most of the time. But we've had it longer. Obviously in the summer we had quite a decent one, which was pretty damn decent. But for me, when you start thinking overall, if those big cap coins start being dominant, so the likes of Ethereum is pushing quite hard and it breaks up and it does a massive move, it's going to affect the dominance. But it also allows FOMO. It allows people to jump in because, oh, Bitcoin's not doing much, it's boring. I want to trade this, I want to buy into this. And then obviously the chain effect goes, it keeps going. We've seen that in the summer with DeFi. We're seeing it now again with DeFi, with lockups increasing the speed of and the ferocity of people withdrawing their Ethereum to use as collateral in DeFi. It's getting bigger and bigger, and we're already starting to see what the effects are of the Dogecoin pump. It's new money coming into the market away from Bitcoin. People aren't interested in Bitcoin at the minute. It's because it's not doing anything. But ultimately what's happening is the altcoins are slowly pushing up. But as I say, it'll only need to do. A lot of coins are at historic low support on the BTC pairing. Once they find that, you know, that level and push over resistance, where in some coins have never been above that since 2018. That's a long time. When they push above it, it will spike up quite high and we'll see these aggressive moves. And this is on the BTC pair. So if I take this over to USD, you're not going to see the same level of pumpage because of Bitcoin has been kind of quite slow and sluggish. A lot of these coins have done a lot better in the BTC pairings over the last 7 days. A lot better. Obviously, they'll be similar in the bigger coins, but when you start thinking the fact that Bitcoin's actually been retracing, some coins have actually held quite steady, it's quite an important thing. It's quite a big thing as well, realistically. So you can start to see here, you're going to see a lot more aggressive in the pumps, you know, a lot more withstanding, and overall in the last 24 hours as well, and you can just see how the dynamic has changed massively on a lot of coins, which is kind of cool. But for me overall, you've got to be patient with this stuff, and what you're going to see is a chain reaction. And when you start seeing the chain reaction, you're going to start seeing this all totally change. You're going to see a higher dominance of Ethereum versus a lower dominance of obviously Bitcoin. People are going to be interested in the headlines, and that's where you can then cash out of essentially your crypto, your altcoins, into Bitcoin and have more Satoshis to show for it. And then when Bitcoin dominance goes high again, you can rebuy those altcoins at the lower prices. If you're not using the USD pairs, obviously. But you got to look at how it kind of flies through. Oh, it's all good fun. So you bought altcoins with USD over the last 6 months during the alt season. Does that mean selling to Bitcoin? If you're looking at that chart, yeah. If you can work out that you're actually in profit in your BTC pair, go for it. Maybe you have to go back in time and look, but if you're using Binance, for example, it doesn't matter what you buy in, you can just sell in whatever. So you just got to look at it, you know. For me, as an opinion, I sometimes buy in USD because I've got it laying around. I just buy it because like Polkadot, I lumped in it. I went, fuck it, I don't care. Buy, I'm having it just in case it pops, right? I bought into it and I'm up massively in Satoshis, but I wasn't. At one point, I was drowning about 40% below, you know, in terms of my buy order, in terms of my Satoshi level. But in the USD price, I was up loads because Bitcoin was pumping. I was buying in at $4 and it stayed around $6, $7 for a while. It kept dropping off a little bit, but the Satoshis were just dying. But now it's obviously okay. So entirely up to you, you know, like it's personal preference. But for me, I'd rather grow Satoshis at the end of the day. And when Bitcoin's high, I then take those, you know, into stable currency a little bit and enjoy my life a little bit. Or it doesn't really matter. Everyone's different, but you know, this is the way I play the game. It's an easier way to play it because in some cases you find that you buy a coin at the wrong time. It looks great in USD. It's oh great, I bought Chainlink at $4. But when you realize that, oh great, it's at like $15, I've made some USD, but it would have been actually better if I bought Bitcoin at the time. That's the worst thing. Alt seasons usually last about, it's usually 6 to 8 weeks for it being quite aggressive, but there's always a build up. And what I feel, we're seeing the build up now, where we've went from literally 70, fuck me, what time frame is that on? We've been from literally this level here, which is about 73, 74 levels, and we're running down now 63. So we've already had some nice little gains here, but we want the parabolic mode. The parabolic mode is the crazy mode. So what we had last time was we had this little runoff, and then it went mental during this period. From July to September, it was pretty mental. So that was like an 8-week of parabolic mania, and we had a bit of a run up before that, which was quite nice. So I made quite a lot of money in the summer on that, and it was really, really nice to know that. But that's just the way it is. It's just the way the market is and the way the market moves. And if this dominance is melting and it continues to melt, and if we do melt below this, it's just going to be party time, and the DeFi world's going to go nuts. Everything's going to go nuts. Like the UTK right now, just to show you, this has hit like a little bottom here, as you can kind of see. Hold on, I'll go to the weekly time frame. You can kind of see it. Like, you know, this whole period here is when the dominance chart was actually just pumping, and now it's found a level of support, which ironically is when the dominance start to flip over, people are interested in it again. And when you start thinking, well, if I was putting buy orders in and when it started to turn around, i.e. the dominance chart was turning around a few weeks ago, you know, you're already up. And it sounds ridiculous here, but even though they're rough numbers in terms of body kind of candles, body closures, whatever, that's still 83% in, you know, 28 days. That's like a big amount. And if you were holding Uterus, you probably look and toggle onto your Delta app and you go, oh, I'm actually up quite a bit. That's quite nice. Always good. But that's what you go for me. But yeah, I know I am bullish on Uterus. I will be looking to sell it though at some point, in terms of like literally when it, say if it moons in BTC value and it goes on a rocket ship moon. You know, I've been positioned in Uterus for ages. I like bought at like 2 cents, maybe less than that. It went so low. And yeah, I'm quite happy to sit on it and chill on it. But as I said before, I took profits on my Voyager. I bought a Voyager like 800 sats. Sold at like 6,200 Satoshis. It's ridiculous, that gain. Why not? You know, it's one of those things. You know, you got to sell some things. You got to do things. You got to move it around. So it's always good. Anyways, if you've not liked the video, please do like the video. I know people are whinging at the comments, but it's just one of those things. Once you get your head around it, once you see it, and once you start looking at the world of Bitcoin and why Satoshis matter more than anything, because there's nothing worse than losing them. I mean, I remember in the bull run in 2017, 2018, I had a lot of Bitcoin and I put a lot of my profit into Ethereum thinking it would hold quite nicely and it would be quite a good number to hold, and it went all the way down to $80. Lovely. Not good, and I also lost a lot of Bitcoin in that because dominance changed massively, as always. Now, dominance is key. Let's see what other ones. Taxes are a pain. Yeah, taxes are a pain. I'm also bullish on Cardano. Cardano is a one that, again, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, it seems to be looking quite good. We've had a liquidity grabbing in around this zone, which I was expecting, and we're still below the previous alt season, which kind of means when hopefully we break 63%, we pop up, and we can do potentially a 50% move, maybe even higher than that, to at least equal that. There you go, it's roughly 50% up to this top level. So that would be a nice little game, but 50% is only 50%. It could go a lot higher. If that's the case, if Bitcoin is stable, 50% would be a nice little number essentially, but it won't be. It depends on Bitcoin at the end of the day. See how high it goes. Why USDC coin? I just prefer it, to be honest with you. Just one of those things. It also means I can store it elsewhere, not have to worry too much about it. Like my hair, it's messy, I know, I do apologise. I do have hair. I know people comment, go, can't believe you've got hair. Anyone shocked that I've got hair? Let me know in the comments. You can have some of it, I've got fucking loads of it. Ridiculous. Another thing to talk about though, we're talking all the time about dominance and stuff, but the element here is, what is the sentiment in the market? The sentiment in the market is massive. You know, we've got literally everyone and the dog and the cat wanting to buy in at the minute. You know, literally wanting to buy into this market. we're in a position where these bags will, whatever we hold, and I mean this, you'll see people become professionals overnight because whatever they hold, they've pumped massively, right? And that's the scariest thing. We're going to see coins that you've never heard of for a long time. Look at Dogecoin, for God's sake. I mean, let's be honest. It's shit, right? It's just one of those things. It pumps, it makes money, whatever, right? If you can milk it, right? Make money. But you're going to see coins the likes of Verge, for example, appear again, or something really, really bad that no one cares about, like Milk Coin that we just saw before. If the dominance goes to a certain level and it drops and the FOMO appears and we start getting these pumping number groups targeting everything, and then you get CNBC telling you how to buy a certain coin, regardless or not, we're going to moon, right? Whether your coin's good, whether your bags have packed, whether your fucking dog's involved, they're going to go, right? It doesn't matter what you buy, essentially. If that dominance does exactly what it says on the tin and just drops and the whole altcoin market goes absolutely mental, everything's going to go mental, and you've got to be careful. Then you've got to really take profits, honestly. If you're in a position where you've made like 100, 200, 300% on a coin that you don't really like, or you just bought on a whim, and you're not taking profits, you've got to start taking profits, because securing the bag, especially in the BTC pairs, if you can accumulate, if you start with 1 Bitcoin, you end up with like 3 or 4 at the end of this parabolic phase, which could happen, by the way, you know, you got to take it. And I don't think people realize that the power of this, especially if we go from 63 down to 30s again. Imagine that. Oh, that'd be scary. Hello, questions. People really do think I'm bold. Expectations for the Ethereum Zilliqa bridge. I think it'd be good. I think the dynamic of having Zilliqa interoperability with Ethereum as the biggest network, obviously, would be very, very good. It will speed things up. It'll make life much easier. Ultimately, the fundamentals of Zilliqa, I like it. I think it's ultimately, you've got sharding, it's fast, it's effective, it's speedy, but you've also got the element of what can be built on top of it as well. That's cool. I like why I like Polkadot, or why I like Cardano as well. I'm all for infrastructure and, you know, ecosystem, so Zilliqa definitely fits the bill for that. VeChain's obviously been mentioned. Yeah, I'm massively, yeah, I don't have to explain VeChain. It's in my opinion, VeChain on the BTC pair is ridiculously undervalued. One last thing. So you sold your RSR? No, I've holding my RSR. RSR will be a long-term hold. I will probably sell about 20-30% if this market goes mental. Obviously, if it goes berserk. But yeah. What other questions have we got? We've got loads of questions. I can't do videos on taxes because I'm not a solicitor or an accountant. Just go to an accountant. Simple. So many questions. Also, if you've not liked the video, please do. Also, subscribe. If you're a new subscriber or if you're new, I'll do a video tomorrow, essentially. A lot of people are asking about exit strategy. I'm probably going to do a video on that at some point in terms of a proper exit strategy. I've done one briefly talking about Fibonacci in terms of like price discovery mode, so you can use certain levels of the Fib to kind of give you a gauge of where you can take profits. So for example here, obviously, if we hit a certain level, we may well find this level, which is in confluence with this region. That might be a good place to take profit, as an example. There's also another way of doing it as well, the other way around. If we found this is level of resistance. We go into this level up here. There may well be levels up here where you can take profits. Simple, really. Can't really complain. But for me, fundamental-wise, all in your gut, it's all in your belly. You know, if you're looking at a coin and you're going, I'm up 10x, I'm up 20x, I'm up 30x, and you're not pulling the triggers, you go, I should take profits, go for it. Look at me with Voyager. I bought 800 Satoshis, I sold at 6,000. Yes, it went up to 7,000, 8,000 Satoshis. I don't care. I made a load of money. And that was from a very, very limited amount of money as an investment. So, as long as you make peace with an exit strategy, you're okay. Don't flap at it. Don't go, oh my God, it's died 10% in a day, I'm going to sell it. Make peace with it. Make sure you know where your targets are and essentially when it's going to happen. So I briefly did, I think recently, I did this. So this is a Zilliqa chart here, right? And I've been talking about this. So this is a level here from April 2019. And I've also marked out places where I could look at potentially taking some money off the table, which is essentially all the way up here. And these are like 200% moves, right? The big moves are positional holds. You know, what's selling a little bit of your bag, 10, 20% of your bag, for literally triple the amount that you paid for it? Well, actually, it'd be way more than that because I bought it ages ago. But from current prices, let's just say, from live areas, if you bought right now, you know, you got to make peace with that, and that's absolutely fine. Am I affiliated with the Peaky Blinders? No, I don't sound anything like them, man. GameStop to $1,000? Probably not. Yes, I am using TradingView, if you're wondering. What other questions have I had? There's some random ones today. My thoughts on Chainlink. It's alright. I just don't like the fact that the team holds such a big amount of it. That's a problem. I've been critical of that. I hate coins that hold big amounts of tokens and they basically state on their white paper what it's for. Developments. Dump on you, basically. Usually. There's a lot of thing with that. You know, there's developments and then there's rewards and other bits and pieces that they can use. Whereas, yeah, that's a problem with Chainlink. Basically, don't buy too high. Just buy it low and then you'll be absolutely fine. What other questions? What's the difference between the BTC Ethereum pair and the BTC USD pair? Essentially, one you're charting in Ethereum and one you're charting in USD. So the USD pair is the absolute pair of Bitcoin based off the current live exchange. Whereas if you do it with BTC/Ethereum, it's the dominance of Ethereum. So basically buying an Ethereum. Nothing really that great. Will Zilliqa hit 1,000 Satoshis? I think it will, you know. I think it really will. We've been there before. We've been a lot higher. So yeah. Obviously with this happening, this will get really interesting because if this does happen, ultimately, depending on where Bitcoin is and where this was at the time of all-time high, we're looking at about 72 cents. I've already worked it out. If it's roughly around 30k Bitcoin, so that'd be mega, but it's quite a stretch. But I've already said this before. With Bitcoin, with this market, anything can happen, and I mean that. I mean, who would have thought XRP would have went to $3.30? Who would have thought that a lot of coins would have went to where they've gone to? It's just one of those things. You got to be careful. You know, there's always pulling the trigger on a coin or an asset and going, yeah, that's great. But there's always that element, should I take profits? Should I not? And if you do take profits, you take too many profits and it goes on a mega run. You're like, oh, bugger. I missed that one. But there's nothing stopping any coin doing what it wants to do with the fundamentals. The fundamentals of the likes of Zilliqa is really, really strong. But it's got to develop. It's got to develop. You know, for me. Why are people asking if I sold RSR? No, I've not. Stop asking. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I've sold all my coins. I'm out of crypto. There we go. I'm no longer going to talk about it. Jokes. But yeah, you got to be careful with, like, literally, in my opinion, you see all this. You just see mass panic when the market poos. And you've just got to look at structure. Market structure is key. This is why this is leveled up in a certain way. It's simple. You know, when you start looking at where things can go, once you start losing certain levels, you're like, oh God. But even though this is a red candle, it's pulled up massively. It's pulled up massively. It's quite a strong candle. It's found a level of liquidity. It's looking all right. You know, ultimately the second day candle's not looking great, but it's been consolidating. This whole level has been consolidating for ages with Zilliqa. If this goes, it'll shoot massively. Absolute massively. Voyager's flying, probably. Seeing as I've sold it, I probably weighed it down for that long, and it's actually BQX, isn't it? No, it's coming down a little bit. It's coming down. Kind of expect. It's been doing some monster moves, like. But yeah, it's finally coming down now. But one of those things. I'm sweating. I'm taking my hat off. Ridiculously sweaty in here. But yeah, a lot of things are happening in the market, and I think the sentiment's going to absolutely go mental. And once that break happens, and once we get that mainstream adoption and all that liquidity goes into altcoins and all that information kind of comes out in the media and people want it. Look at Dogecoin. It's been crazy. So you're thinking, could you do a video on fibs? I've got one on my video. I've also got one on here. If you go over to Learning Crypto, check out Premium. There's millions of videos on it. You'll see me every day. I do daily analysis on here as well. It's definitely worth a look at. Also, as you can see in the pinned comment, I've made a brand new Telegram for alert essentially to keep an eye on things. That makes it so if I do go live randomly, I can put it in there, you'll see me, and that makes it much more important for obvious reasons, so you can actually see instead of just my Twitter, for example. What do you think about XRP? XRP is a good coin to use, but I would never invest in it due to, well, now I wouldn't. I used to invest in it, but not anymore. I made peace with it. I sold it because too much corporate bullshit, basically. But ultimately, the underlying thing with XRP is the technology is actually quite good. It's fast, it's cheap, and it works. It's great. Why can't we get the Binance card in the UK? Don't use Binance card, it's rubbish. Wouldn't bother with it. My favourite DeFi project? Hard one. I don't know. I don't really have one. For me, DeFi, because it's been so heavily influenced in the world of Ethereum and the exchange fees are so ridiculous and the fees alone are ridiculous, it's a hard one to measure the true effect of DeFi right now, in my opinion. Once I think the world of Ethereum's changed, and my chat's just going nuts. Once Ethereum's changed and they've released the brand new element, the EIP 1559, which will reduce the cost, I think the DeFi world will take off even more. But for me, you know, that's my opinion on DeFi at the minute. I think Ave's probably the leader. A lot of the lockups, but that's it really. I've never really looked too much or locked up too much in DeFi. Too expensive. It's ridiculous. What's happening? We popped yet? Not yet. Waiting for the pop. Waiting for the pop. My favorite low cap gem, Pluton token, for obvious reasons because I use the card. My hair's such a mess, it's terrible. What hardware wallet do I use? I use the Ledger, even though they give away addresses and whatnot. Great fun. Thank you for the tip, by the way. You don't have to do it. Legendary. I'm still keen on Uterus, yes. I think Zilliqa is better than Elrond. Personal opinion, not financial advice, obviously. All opinions this game. Chainlink is king. Potentially. But yeah, I'm going to end it. It's been a nice night. I know people are struggling to comprehend the way I do things, ultimately, with the way I use the Bitcoin chart and the dominance chart. But ultimately, if that Bitcoin dominance does drop and the likes of Ethereum and basically, let's just say if the Ethereums and the Litecoins and Chainlinks and whatnot get a level again on XRP carries on going, we're going to see more and more interest. That interest is going to lead to FOMO. Dominance is going to drop. We're all going to make Bitcoin, especially if you're holding them. If you sell in Bitcoin, that is. If you sell in Bitcoin. Most people don't know. They sell in USD and they miss out essentially in the long-term stuff. But yeah, enjoy. I'll be back tomorrow. Video tomorrow will be, I don't know what the video will be tomorrow. I need to decide. Just, yeah, let me know what you want me to do. I'll do whatever these days. Yeah. Before you leave, though, make sure you like the video. And obviously, if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. Video tomorrow is, well, I said I don't know yet, but it'll be news related. It'll be something big in the news. And then we'll talk about that from there. And that could be great fun. So, yeah. See you soon. And yeah, I do have hair. I'm not going bald. I've got loads of it, as you can probably see. Too much hair. I should really donate it. Anyways, see you later.